Yeah. All right. I feel like I'm good now.
You're good now?
I'm good now.
I thought you were great before. Oh, look at that. I'm already kissing butt on the guest.
I know. You know what? I love you too.
Oh, that hit so hard. You'll all find out why when I tell you in person. What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of JJG and The Face. And today I'm here with the face of UK comedy, nay, global comedy and education, and the host of Comedy for the Curious. I'm here with the one and only, my friend, my dear friend, Robyn Perkins. I didn't say her name. Robyn Perkins. I whispered it in her ear like it was a secret, like she didn't know. I'm like, you're Robyn Perkins.
I am.
Deal with
and
it.
I was like, I am? This guy right here.
You've been
Robyn
promoted.
Perkins. I know.
You've been promoted to Robyn Perkins.
Thank you.
You used to just be like RHP.
Yeah. Fuck it. I am Robyn Perkins.
You are Robyn Perkins. I don't want to say something like, how are you doing today? We spent the last 3 weeks together.
Yeah, it's true.
So we're here live on location in London, England, by the way.
Yeah.
Left that part out. So I want to give a little bit of background and we're going to get to know Robyn, but this is a personal friend of mine. Like, this is not someone I'm getting to know. This is someone I know very well.
Yeah.
We met in the trenches at Gordo's tent at the Adelaide Fringe Festival in the Ha Comedy Parlor.
That was very Magnus of you.
That was very Magnus of me. I felt like...
I was like, no, you are doing it. All right.
Magnus, we love you. I hope you see. I'm going to send it to you. You'll see this.
Yeah.
And we did stand up over there. A lot of you guys who know me know that that's my favorite place in the earth and my favorite time of year. Robyn and I met doing stand up. We had a good time, and then she left me. She had other gigs, other obligations.
I'm very important.
She's a very important, busy person. I watched her leave, but we stayed in touch.
Yeah.
We stayed in touch, and she came up with a show called Comedy for the Curious that was birthed out of the pandemic. It's one of my favorite things in the world. It's a science-based comedy chat show that I'm going to let you tell us about. Because I just realized, I'm like, here's what I think of her show. So first of all, what made you even start a show on Zoom? Like, what made you come up with this?
So I'll say my girlfriend, she tells it this way, of that the pandemic started and I had an existential crisis for 2 weeks because comedy is my life, and then needed to do something. So Zoom comedy shows after 2 weeks. I was like, I gotta do something.
That's true.
Yeah. So that is how comedy started online. And then I was doing kind of other normal comedy shows, hosting them. And then I just kind of was like, actually, this is the perfect opportunity to do what I love and what I want to do and what really represents me. So started Comedy for the Curious. And it is, as you touched on, it's a comedy panel show. So stand-up comedy with a science twist. So every show has a different theme, whether it be confidence or personality or accents or something like that. I do the research behind it, do a science comedy monologue, and then I have two comedian guests that come on and do a set, not sciencey. So whatever they want to do, you're like, yeah, no, not sciencey.
Yeah.
Very much.
I was like, I like drinking sometimes. And they're like, that's not scientific at all. I'm like, this is why you brought me.
Yeah, because I do have confidence. And then there's a chat and then a game. Really silly game that I love.
But your background, you're unlike other comics, like you have a background in something smart.
My parents are better found.
Was it marine biologist? Am I
yeah, it was marine biology with focus, like biology, marine biology. Then I went into landscape architecture that also has some biology to it. And
so she's slumming it with us comics is what she's doing.
I am more intellectually stimulated in comedy than I ever have been.
Nice. That's a perfect transition. So you're talking about intellectual stimulation. So a lot of people do comedy for multiple reasons, and not any one of them is right. But we were talking on the bus recently, and you were talking about your one-woman shows that you were putting on at certain fringes. Now, you guys have heard me talk about the fringe. I've been like, Adelaide Fringe. There's multiple fringes around the world. She plays these rooms. She does these other fringes. She's a fringe aficionado, if you will. And you were talking...
I've done a lot.
Yeah, you have.
I just kind of went through my head of like, oh yeah, no, I've done a lot. Yeah.
Well, one of the things I deeply respect about you, like, and I've told you this and I want them to hear it too, is I see the work you put into it. You treat it more than a 9-to-5. You treat it like your own business. Like you're an entrepreneur, a comicpreneur, if you will. I don't know what that makes sense.
I love it.
Okay, it's a thing now. It's a thing. She was running rooms. She was doing her own bookings and booking other comedians. And then you do this one-woman show. Is it fair to say it's a one-woman show?
Yeah.
I want to hear about that because that blew my mind. I was so deeply impressed with your approach to your other hour. Like you were doing your stand-up, you have no idea how hard it is to come up with 10 good minutes of comedy. She comes up with 1,000,000,000 good minutes of comedy, and then she has this other thing. And she's like, I got to work on my hour. I'm like, your stand-up hour? You're like, no, my show hour.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah. So with the background, basically, hour-long shows are more than just jokes for 60 minutes. There's like a journey that you go on. But one of the things that I love and what drew me to stand-up comedy is the fact that it can make you think. It has a better purpose. It can have a bigger purpose. And I think that's what I love about it. And it doesn't need to be. Obviously, there are times where you just want to joke. Like, you just want to show up on a Saturday night. You don't want to think. You just want to laugh. Done. But what I love is that it has the ability to make somebody think about something in a different way. And so that's kind of what drew me to comedy, but also with my science background, I sometimes am not great at life. Like, I make really bad decisions. One of my friends, I think, best put it as an enthusiasm over organization, which...
I can see that, but you also...
Are organized.
Are very organized.
But that's only... But anyway, I jump into things. I have experiences, much like you. But I also then ask the questions, and I think that comes from having a biology background, landscape architecture, all of it was about research, doing research, figuring out the place, what's the situation. And so going into the hour-long shows, I would have a question that I wanted to answer. So the first hour-long show was about decision-making. I thought I'd make bad decisions. I'm very indecisive. So the whole thing was, how do we make decisions? Why do we make the decisions we do? And they are a combination of research and personal experience that are weaved together. So I met with a neuroscientist, interviewed her to figure out how our brain works and like what are all the things that go into making a decision. And then I retold across the hour the story of the worst decision I'd ever made in my life. And so weaving together the science with the personal stories of like, why did I make that decision? Why did I do that? And then looking at my personal background along with neuroscience came up with an answer. And that's just kind of how the shows work. So the second show that I did was about dating. I'm really bad at dating. And I had an experience on a live dating show in Edinburgh at the Edinburgh Fringe.
Edinburgh is in Scotland.
Yes.
Just...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I'm sorry. I'm just like...
No. It's okay. By the way, American, been in the UK for 12 years.
Yeah.
Right? 12? 13. It's the coolest thing when I'm like, my American friend who's a British comic, and they're like, what does that mean? Yeah. It means Robyn Perkins.
I also started over here as well, so it's a very weird thing. So I do not have an American style.
Right.
Like, I have a British style with this accent.
By the way, we're going to have her on the show like 18 million more times. She has actually educated me in more than just comedy for the curious and the way she writes. She's also been like, yeah, in the UK, this is the way we do things. And I'm all like, so I was on too long, too short? She's like, you got away with a little bit, but next time, know your role. So I'm also being educated in the ways over here. So
yeah. So all right. So the second show was about dating, right? Yes. So I went on this live dating show. It was kind of like blind date, or do you have what's the dating show where you have the three people in
the dating game?
Yeah, the dating game. It was like the dating game, but you could see the people. Yeah, and basically it was a.
I feel like I deserve a coaster.
Yeah. You're like, just gonna take one.
I know, I have some in my bag.
Oh, yeah, we have one.
Because I respect her amygdala.
Yeah, she does.
Y'all will find out what that means later. Boom, watch the show. Anyway, so dating.
So dating, right. So then that one was basically, the story made me think all about how, basically, I picked somebody that I didn't want to pick because I got pressured into it by the audience. Oh. And after that, I went, why did I make that decision? So then I started investigating the science behind love. Why does love exist? Also, the science behind morals. Why do morals exist? Why, like, are humans, like, ability to tell the truth? Like, how society influences your ability to tell the truth. Because you're thinking about it at dating, right? Like, say...
I love it. No, this is me getting stimulated right now.
I was like, all right, so say we went on a date. This is going to sound harsher than I mean for it to, right?
That's
so,
fine.
right? All right, so
I'm
say...
on a high right now. You can't shoot me down right now. Actually, I've already told someone I love them, and I'm going to do it again today.
I know. I love it. I love you too. All right, so say we go on a date, right? And you don't find me, like, you find me intellectually stimulating, amazing. You don't find me physically attractive. You're like, oh, God, we're going to be great friends because I love hanging out with you, but I just don't want to make out with you, right? Now, society has very mixed opinions on this, because if I was like, great, do you want to like go out on another date? You want to make out? There are certain things that you can reject me for. Like, for example, you could be like, I just don't feel you in that way. Or like, I think we'd be better at friends. You can't really go up to somebody and be like, I think your face sucks. Like, you can't.
I bet some of y'all wish you could do that.
Yeah, I know.
And if you do, I'm not that sensitive. Feel free, email me and let me know how it went.
I'm just saying, the point is, like, in front of it, like, their society, what is okay to do society-wise, it affects your ability to tell the truth.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good thing to explore.
Yes, and not just with dating, but with comedy as well. Like, I'm sure you knew this, when you're on stage, like, if you want to put somebody down in the audience, like, jokingly, there's certain people you can put down. It's much easier to put down a man than a woman because of the perceived power dynamic in the audience. And it's all these things that play in. Like, you can't, and so there's certain things, like, you can't look, like, it's all of these things. You can insult, so all of that weighs in, and what societal norms, their ability for us to tell the truth. So that was what I investigated there, and looked at the evolution of morality, things like that, which is quite interesting.
It is. I'm smiling only because I'm thinking of all the things that you're saying. You're like, you can do this, you can do that. I'm like, And sometimes I've done the wrong choice. Sometimes I've made the wrong choice. I've apologized after ragging on someone before. I was like, boom, 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 boom. I'm like, I'm sorry. You didn't deserve that. Yeah. Like, I've had that moment. I feel like shit about it. And it's been like 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm going to find them on Facebook. So when you were working on one show, and you've worked on several 1 hour shows.
And now I'm working on a third right now.
And the third is the one that, which one's the topic? Are you allowed to talk about that one right now?
No, that's fine. I can talk about that now. Yeah, so the third one is about visibility, but it's also on a greater level. It's about
that's the one you just did with the scientist. Proof.
Yeah, I just spoke to the scientist here. So it's about proof versus evidence.
Let me compliment her first. I have to interrupt you. This person right here has guts, has gusto. Reached out to like someone who's quite in the news and has a big spotlight on them. And Robyn's never met him from Adam. She's like, hey, you want to be on my show or you want to have an interview?
Yeah.
And he was like, sure, person I've never met. So she interviewed this dude who has a lot of spotlight for better or for worse, but she was able to make that connection. That's like me reaching out to Michael Jordan and being like, hey, I like basketball too. You want to talk? And Michael Jordan's not like, no. So she was able to make it happen. So continue. I interrupted you, but it's just to praise you.
So it was really. I know. I just because I figure, what's the worst that can happen?
What's the worst that can happen?
They
exactly.
Say no.
Take your shot. The worst that's gonna happen is you're gonna say I love you too. Anyway,
so he was lovely. But so the show is about how you prove something, how you prove you are the way you are, right? That's kind of at proof versus evidence. I'm still working out the way to explain this in a concise manner. But
it's still good. I mean,
it is basically, it's the journey. It's two stories that are paralleled side by side during the show. One is my realizing that I am bisexual at the age of 35, which is pretty late in life considering. And then the other story is the scientist, J. Michael Bailey, who published an article in 2020 basically called Robust Evidence for Bisexual Orientation Among Men. And it's basically his journey as well about with bisexuality and kind of creating evidence of whether or not bisexuality exists, which is the reason why there's a greater message to it, is also this idea of like, first of all, it's 2020. If anybody doesn't think bisexuals exist, like, what the hell?
It's 2022.
It's 2022. So smartest woman alive.
She comes from a science background, but she's too busy to keep track of the days. That's what it is.
That's what it is. I'm like, so what? Is it? I haven't slept since 2020.
Yeah, the pandemic ruined everything for all of us. I'm still saying I have jet lag from 3 weeks ago. So.
Oh my god. Oh yeah, 2022. I'm just all right. So the point, the article was published in 2020. Yeah. It's questioning going like, why do you need that article? But actually, it turns out you do, because there's so many people that don't believe that bisexuals exist. But it is that storyline, but then on a greater level, it's like, how do you actually prove something? How do you actually, in this day and age, because when I was talking to him, I was like, oh, you prove that bisexuality exists. And he's like, no. I did not prove it. I came up with evidence. And there's a big difference between evidence and proof in the scientific world, but also anywhere in the world. Like, if you, like, you like carrots? Do you like carrots?
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, prove it.
You can watch me eat them.
Yeah, you can eat something you don't like.
That's true. You can watch the expression on my face and the joy.
You could probably fake it if you're a sociopath.
That's also a very good point, and sometimes guys can fake it too. Anywho, yeah, you got a good point. That's a
you
good
can't
point.
prove it. Like, so there's so many things.
You were saying that about the dudes.
Prove.
You can just have sex to have sex. That doesn't mean you're attracted to them, right?
Yes.
Am I remembering
exactly.
That right?
So you can't prove sexual orientation. Like, you can't prove. You can prove arousal. You can prove. And they like tied a string around a penis and was like, "Oh, here's some porn," and it was like. Fishing for dick. Anyway, I forgot to ask you if we're allowed to swear on this or not.
Yeah, you do whatever you want.
Okay,
I know
like,
you're the one who's all scientific, so I've been all proper and shit.
Yeah,
Where
I'm like fishing for dick.
Yeah.
Here we go. But yeah, so there's so many things that you think that you can prove, but you can't. I mean, from greater things like the existence of God, can't prove it. Can't disprove it. Yeah, I mean, you could have evidence of God existing or not. I mean, that's like a big level. But equally, something as little as like you like carrots, can't prove it. Yeah, I will never truly know if you like carrots. I can trust you.
Yeah, you can. That's true. You can.
I can just trust you. Yeah.
And yeah, you brought up carrots because you're not about that carrot life.
Oh my god, I am allergic to carrots. I think you can.
So much so, she got engaged to a woman, and so hacky. But yeah, no, that's a good point. I think that's also a good lesson for people to have. Period. Is proof versus evidence.
Yeah.
Or wait, is that right?
Yeah, proof versus evidence. Yeah.
I think that's good because I think a lot of people are taking their feelings and saying, I feel this way, so it's fact.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, I'm angry at this, so that is evil.
Yeah.
And, you know, I like the conversation you had with the guy.
Yeah.
So you've done several 1 hour, 1 woman shows. You spice it up with some comedy.
Yeah. So it's comedy, science, but also I think what is different is that there is very much a personal story that weaves through all of them as well.
Why do you do this? This is like, why? I know what you like. I know that you enjoy it. Why put forth the effort and work? And I'm not dissing in other comics when I say this, but I've been in the comedy game for 20 years now. I've known a lot of comics. Why are you working twice as hard as some of the rest of the people? And she didn't say it. I did. So no one will be all like, oh, Robyn thinks she works twice as hard. I'm saying, I've seen it. Why are you working twice as hard when you can just focus on your stand-up, get club sets, do private parties, do corporates, which pay much better? Why do you even put forth the effort to do this other thing on the side?
I mean, on one hand, I can say I love making people laugh, but I could do that in a club set. I mean, I do. I just like the opportunity that comedy can make people think differently or think about the way that they perceive the world. I want to challenge people's norms. Like, if you're, especially with, for example, bi visibility, most people that come to the show will probably believe that bisexuals exist, right? However, leaving that show, they will then start noticing all of the many people that do exist that don't. And then all of a sudden can be able to have that conversation and challenge it and become little warriors of bisexuality. And that's just, but not even just with that, but think about like what it is to have evidence versus proof. And actually just thinking about every time, like conspiracy theories are a huge part of that as well in the world, and understanding correlation versus causation, which is like two things that might be correlated doesn't mean that one caused the other. You know, there is a storm when, like, what was it in the South that gay people cause hurricanes?
What?
In the States. What? Come on, dude. It was like years ago. It was, do you know, like, there was like a whole, oh, you should Google this. I'm not wrong. They will know.
I have smart people watching.
Somebody the gay people caused the hurricanes. There was like this whole, because there was like I think it was a big event around the same time that a hurricane happened. It was like, no, just coincidence.
It wasn't even the gay people. It was us Native Americans doing our dance. I can say that.
But yeah, but understanding the correlation versus causation is huge. But if you think about it, then all of a sudden, like if I plant that seed in a comedy show, and then a month later, somebody, you know, hypothetically, since it's 2020, No, or like, oh, vaccines cause autism, right?
Mhm.
That one you've heard of.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, right? Probably, like, there is one kid that ended up on the autism spectrum that happened to have a vaccine, and that is like, it is not causation. That is just a coincidence. There's no grounding of that, and no being able to see the difference between one thing causing another versus one thing coincidentally occurring with another.
What I like about everything you've just said is it gives people an opportunity to at least explore their reasons, explore their minds, and explore an outcome. You know what I'm saying? Point A to point B, you know, points. Yeah. I really personally like that.
Yeah.
Because I think the knowledge can be important. You can get information that makes you better.
Yeah. I mean, we can't prove it, but but we have evidence that knowledge is important.
I just know that the more I seem to know, the more I'm able to navigate through life easier.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
If I understand this, at least I won't be angry at this thing.
Right.
Or less angry. Because, I mean, I ask questions a lot.
Yeah.
I'll be like, Robyn, I don't understand this. And I'll reach out to Eric, I don't understand this. And then at the end, I'm all like, I'm less angry.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm able to go about my day with a little more ease. And, I mean, we all have hard enough days. Like, why not make it a little easier?
Yeah. And the great thing about comedy is when you're laughing, your guard is down. If you were just to get a bunch of people in a room and lecture them, you wouldn't break through.
You would shut down. Yeah.
Yeah, but when you're laughing, you're like, your guard is down. You're more receptive to information.
I love it. Robyn, I love this. I want to do this 1,000 more times. Like right now, you guys keep up with Robyn. Follow what she's doing. You'll see my posts that say like, Robyn Perkins is doing this thing. You've seen me post pictures with her here in the UK. We were doing this thing. In Australia, we will be doing other things. But if you want to follow her yourselves, which I highly recommend, Robyn, where do the people find you?
So on YouTube, Robyn Perkins, just Robyn Perkins. That's my channel. Robyn with a Y.
That's a good point. It is with a Y. Why? Because that's what she decided. Hack City. So
it's actually my parents.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm a golden child, but I wasn't speaking before the age of 5 days.
What? I haven't heard you shut up since we started. Like I just was like I could just picture Robyn coming out the womb being like, "Here's my theory on." It's like, you just got born, girl. So also Instagram, Facebook.
All right, Instagram is Robyn H Perkins.
That's an H in America. H is British for H.
Robyn H Perkins. Twitter is Robyn H Perkins, and Facebook is Miss Robyn Perkins.
Yeah, so you can find her, follow her. You're gonna see a lot more of us together, so she's not gonna be hard to find. If you forget the last part of this, I expect that you watch till the end. Come to me, and also right here. This really is, and I'm not saying this because she's my friend. I love comedy for the curious. She has such a wide variety of artists from around the planet. It's not just people from England. You got people from Scotland, Ireland, Australia, the States. Canadians are in there. They sound similar to us, but they're a little bit different. They know what they're talking about. But this show right here is great. This woman right here is my friend. And you'll hear me singing her praises more in the future. But until next time, on behalf of Robyn Perkins and myself, you guys rock the day, rule the night.